Hello, everybody. You're listening to the Avanti Wellness Podcast, hosted by me, Lydia Smith, aka Butterflydia. I'm embarking on my own transformational journey, and my intention is to inspire, inform, and support you all along the way. My hope is that we are all learning something new with each episode. So let's meet today's guest. Hello, everyone. It's Lydia with the Avanti Wellness Podcast and YouTube channel. And today I'm excited to be talking with Dorey Kern. Hi, Dorey.
Hi, Lydia. It's great to be here.
Glad to have you. I think you all might have heard me say before, I have a sister named Dorey, and now I've got another Dorey here. So you're my second Dorey to have on my podcast. So Dorey is a self-love specialist, and I have to be fully transparent. She's a lot of things. Y'all are going to learn that she has a lot to offer, but we're talking about her self-love specialist and specialty today, and we're going to get to know Dorey a little better, and we're going to have a discussion about a very sensitive topic. We're both going to be vulnerable, so hang in there, guys. We are going to probably have some trigger words and some, feelings get activated. So I just want you to know that if that happens, take some deep breaths and just hang in there with us because it'll all be okay. So Dorey, will you take a moment and introduce yourself to the audience, and just the basic background stuff right now, and then we'll go into your story later.
Sure. So my name is Dorey. I live in Missoula, Montana, which is the largest city completely surrounded by the Rocky Mountains. I am a former bilingual dual language Spanish immersion elementary school teacher. I now run 2 businesses and do some tutoring on the side. So I, like Lydia said, I'm a multi-passionate, multi-talented, and
that's a great title.
Like variety in my days. So
which means you have a lot of experience from which to pull all the wisdom out that you use to help people, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. I've always been someone who loves to help other people. I'm a recovering people pleaser. I used to put other people's needs before my own. I have learned that I have more to give when I put myself first and take care of me first, and then take care of other people and help other people.
I bet a lot of people can relate to that comment.
Yeah, I definitely, and I think especially women, as women, we often find our value in how much we take care of other people. And, I think that's one of the things that I want to help people remember is that we have value because we have innate worthiness and value, not dependent upon what we do, who we help, how much money we make, any of those things.
Or what size we are.
Yeah, that too. that being a big focus today, right?
Yeah.
But regardless of any other things, any other hats that we wear, whether we're a mom or a teacher or a lawyer or a banker or a doctor, none of that really correlates to value. And unfortunately, our society often puts weight on how much money you make or what your size you are, what you look like, and things like that. And we forget that we are innately worthy just because we exist. And I think that, society in general, and, unhealed people who are, a lot of us have experienced different traumas, right? And different judgment from the outside. And our society doesn't put value on self-love the way that it needs to. I think that is changing. I will say, I think it is changing, but I think society at large is not focused on self-love. And in my experience and my opinion, self-love is the secret sauce that makes everything in life better.
I love that. Secret sauce, pun intended. We're talking about food and size and everything on this channel. So, share what we were talking a little bit before we hit record. Tell the audience what your cousin taught you a long time ago. I love that little saying.
So my cousin, who I call my magic genie, her name's Jeannie, and she's a psychic, so I call her my magic genie. But she told me one time, we were talking about my weight, and I was, talking about wanting to lose weight and kind of really down on myself because of being overweight. And she said, Dorey, God made people in larger bodies to teach the world that love comes in all shapes and sizes.
Whee! Look at this larger body. I love that. That's so good. And it's so true. You said that earlier and I was like, that's so true. I felt that. I felt like part of my journey, my self-acceptance journey has been to help teach others that it's okay, whatever size you are. And like the work that we have to do is within us. It's ours to do. And it's only yours to do to have more joy and more freedom in your life and happiness. And once you stop worrying about how big your arms are, how big your butt is, or how big your stomach is, you just create more freedom for yourself, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I said to my friend one time, hey, I'm just built like the goddess. I can't remember the specific name, but there's the goddess that's like the oldest,
like the fertility goddess or something.
Yeah, it's like the oldest replica of the like a stone.
Yeah, was it Egypt? Where was it?
No, it wasn't Egypt. I'm trying to remember.
Atlantis or something. Shoot. I have one in my bathroom. It's this little stone that someone cut. And I mean, she looks like me, she's got these huge hips and then her body goes in and, like I guess I am a goddess.
We are all goddesses clothed in skin. Yes. Absolutely. You're a goddess. And yes. I'm just trying to remember.
Oh, that's fine. Go ahead. Look for it. So, I like to start my podcast and tell my audience whether I know already or don't know my guest. And today I do not know Dorey. We just met yesterday online. She wrote a comment on, or she told her story on her Facebook post. Excuse me. And I was, she was being inspirational and helping others through her own story. And I said, do you want to tell your story on a global platform where the world can be helped? And she was like, yes. And so we decided to get on today. This is Sunday, by the way, and have coffee together. And I said, we'll just be ready in case you want to hit record and get this story out. So this is the time and the platform, and you can share as much or as little as you want about your story. I just know that you were supported, that I love the idea of like using our own hardships to help others who are going through the hardship, because we're on the other side of that pain, right? And it's not to say that we don't still have pain and memories and thoughts and triggers and everything, but you just learn how to handle them differently when you change your mindset about it, right? And it's about transmuting that pain to be something for good, right? So that's why we're telling the story, right?
Absolutely. And so I found the goddess. It's the Venus of Willendorf. That is the goddess that I had in my mind. So if anybody wants to Google that and look at that.
Google that. Let me write it down. Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
Venus goddess of Willendorf. So I knew that my father was abusive when I was growing up. And he specifically targeted my weight. I was always, I remember him locking me out of the house, telling me I had to go exercise. And, just the post that I made on Facebook that that Lydia and I connected over was I was talking about how when I was 13, right after my parents split up, my dad kicked my bedroom door down in a rage. My mom called the cops. I mean, I thought he was going to kill me. I was terrified. And 2 weeks later, when I was finally willing to speak to him again, he took me out for dinner to apologize. And then he goes, "Oh, yeah, you don't have to eat all of that." And I was like, "What do you mean I'm eating my dinner?" "Well, you're going to be in high school soon. And I'm just concerned because whether you think so or not, people do care what you look like. And if you don't want to hang out with losers for the rest of your life, you need to lose some weight." And I was stunned. And of course, all of the emotions running around in my head. And I knew that he was my ride home and I better not make a scene. And so I just didn't say anything. And looking back at it, I mean, it was a very difficult time anyway. I mean, 13 years old is.
Yeah, I mean, did you think you were fat at the time? Like, when did you become consciously aware that you were larger?
I had been consciously aware that I was larger since early elementary school.
Okay. I was just curious where your own mindset was at the time.
I look back at when I was 13, I was a size 16. And yes, I was bigger than the other girls, but my body was flipping gorgeous. I mean,
because a lot of times people who are larger boned.
I'm 5'10".
Oh, you're tall. Yeah.
And, I mean, my legs were toned and I mean, yeah, I had some extra weight, but
it's your frame. Yeah.
But I wouldn't give to be that size again, you know?
Exactly. Exactly. No, I get it.
Like, oh, how did I not know how gorgeous I was at that time? Because my father kept telling me. Now, my father has a very high metabolism. His stepmother who raised him was a Weight Watchers coach and he owned a bicycle store. So in his mind, he believed what he said. And he believed that he was helping me by telling me that I needed to lose weight because in his worldview, fat people are worthless. I mean, that's his worldview. Yeah. And so he was speaking out of concern for me, as messed up as that was. And so because he doesn't want a fat woman. And he's told me before, like, you're not going to get a man if you look like that. Well, I'm here to tell you there are plenty of men who prefer larger women.
That's funny. Wait, let me ask you, when did you realize that he was coming out of concern? Because I feel like that's a mind shift. You don't actually think that in the moment.
No. It was many years later.
That the healing? Was that the healing that you had to come to terms with that pain?
Yeah, it was definitely, probably within like the last 5 to 10 years. So,
okay. Yeah. So in your 30s, you were in your 30s.
Or late 30s before I came to realize that. Oh,
right. Okay. So you're telling the story, but you're also bringing us to your mindset of the today. What I just want the audience to understand, and I've been there, that's why I know this. You're not thinking like that for a decade. You're living at least, in the pain of the abuse until you work with someone or healing or therapy or something to find a new mindset of a way to look at it. So that's what you're talking
honestly, I wasn't able to do. I mean, I've been, studying and trying to learn how to forgive since I was probably a teenager. I mean, probably around that time was when I was starting to learn, like wanting to learn how to forgive.
Yeah.
But I wasn't able to get to the point of understanding that he was trying to help me until we were no longer in contact.
Right.
Because the abuse did continue up until he cut off contact. And the reason he cut off contact is because I confronted him about molesting me starting at age 3.
How old were you when you confronted him?
It was a few weeks before my 34th birthday.
Okay.
And I uncovered the memories at age 23 or 24.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's important. I want the audience to understand this process. It's not doesn't happen until the timing's right. So if you haven't done this, it's okay. We're just talking about the experience of unveiling, peeling the onion, so to speak. Okay.
Yeah,
So you
absolutely.
were in your 20s. Were you doing therapy? How did the memory occur?
So, my grandmother died when I was 22, my mom's mother, and we were incredibly connected from the time I was born. Like we were, and I don't know, is it okay if I go a little woo woo here?
You can go a little woo woo. Yeah. Just that you have spiritual gifts and you have understandings that give you insight to your life. And I love that. I do too, by the way. I just don't always talk about them. Do you know what an HSP is? Highly sensitive person.
Oh yes. Yes.
Yeah,
I'm very,
so I'm that. And so I'm sure you are too. So yeah.
Yeah. So when I was 11, I actually had a vision of my granny's death. And I can still vividly remember, I was Easter Sunday. I'm walking across the living room with my plate of food, and I have this flash and I feel her death. And I see a black and white calendar grid with the number 22, and felt all of the pain that I would feel associated with her death. And then I felt the peace and calm wash over me that everything would be okay. And this is a split second, like just a flash.
Was she still alive at the time?
Oh, yeah, she was still alive. I was at her house for Easter Sunday when I was 11.
Oh, and she was there.
And from then on, I always thought she was going to die on the 22nd of a month.
Oh, okay.
And then a few years later, my freshman year in high school, she moved in with us. And I started having all of these dreams that would come true. The next time I see somebody, they're doing what they were doing in the dream. They're wearing what they were wearing in the dream. It was just happening all the time. And of course, my grandma's living with us, and I'd come home from school and I'd tell her, oh my gosh, I had a dream last night. And then today this happened and blah, blah, blah. And she said, I had that gift when I was younger, but I was scared of it and I pushed it away. And I said, well, I think it's really cool. I want to develop it and learn more. Well, fast forward to my senior year in college. And interestingly enough, again, Easter Sunday rolls around, and we had to rush my grandmother to the emergency room. We stopped in at the assisted living home where she was, and she was screaming in pain. And it turned out that if she didn't want to take her medications, instead of calling somebody from the family to try to coax her into taking them, they just threw them away. So she wasn't getting her stool softeners. And it turned out she was fecally impacted to the point that it killed her. And she also had a huge bed sore on her heel that they'd been covering with socks for months.
So neglect. She had neglect.
Neglect, abuse. Yeah. She had fallen. They dropped her twice in 2 weeks, or twice within like a very short period of time, and did not notify us or the Missoula Aging Services, both of which were required by law. My mom and I wanted to sue. The rest of the family was like, no, we're not going to do that. Anyway, so we rushed her to the emergency room. My mom was in with her, would not leave her side. I was in the waiting room, and this was before cell phones. So
yeah.
There were cell phones, but we didn't have them. And so I was using my phone card to use the payphone to call everybody in the family. This may be the end. You need to come home. You need to come home. And all of her living children came home. She was in the hospital for a few days. We moved her into a nursing home. And my mom, my 2 aunts slept with her the first night. And then my mom slept in the recliner beside her bed for 40 days and 40 nights.
My goodness, she lived a long time. So I think I asked you, when did you discover that you were abused?
Right. So when she died, there was all kinds of, I was off kilter physically due to my thyroid being out of whack. And all of this communication is happening between her and me, from her on the other side. And I'm saying things to my mom and basically had a nervous breakdown because I didn't know how to handle this connection with the other side, because all these messages from all different spirits are coming through me. And so did some work with my psychic cousins and saw stuff with my father in a past life. And then a year later, basically had another nervous breakdown, was just falling apart, and worked with them again. And they're like, no, Dorey, it was in this lifetime. Let's look at this lifetime. And it came out that it was my father in this lifetime. And I didn't want to believe it, of course. And they said, well, we don't think that you should tell your mom. And I cried and cried and cried for days. And finally, my
When they
mom,
told you that, were you able to then open the door to the experiences that you had? Like, because you tucked those away and you put them away.
So that's a great question. So I was, down in the relaxed hypnotic state, right? And they're, and they're saying, okay, can you see his face? And I went into the room where it happened. And when I tried to look at his face, everything went black and my mind went zoom off to the side. It was like, not going there.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I think it was this friend of my dad's. And they said, no, Dorey, it was your dad. And my entire body convulsed. And they said, your mind will lie to you, but your body can't lie. And a couple days later, like maybe 4 days later, we get a call from my brother asking for the family orthopedic surgeon's phone number, because my father had taken my 2 brothers and the one brother's college girlfriend to see my grandparents up at the lake. And then they went to the go-karts, and my dad got in a wreck and shattered the index finger of his right hand, the finger he used to touch me. And that was just like, holy shit. If that's not karma in action, I don't know what is, right? Like that. I mean, that was for me. And then, my mom starts saying things like, wow, well, when you were 3, you wore a size 3. And when you were 3.5, you wore a size 6. Because at 3 years old, when my father started molesting me, I made a subconscious decision to gain weight to protect myself, because as a 3-year-old, I really didn't have any other coping skills. And that little 3-year-old still isn't ready to release the weight for good. The same 100 pounds.
Still working on it.
I've lost the same 100 pounds probably 8 or 10 times. And I remember at one point when I finally decided to confront him, because I was like, if I confront him, it's going to destroy my relationship with my brothers. I just know it will. Right.
Were you the only daughter?
Yes. I'm the only girl. I'm the oldest. I have 2 younger brothers.
Okay. Yeah. Plus they're younger. So.
Well, and I was always treated very, very differently. I remember at, 8, 9 years old, laying in bed, listening to my dad telling stories and laughing with my brothers at bedtime and waiting my turn, and him walking right past my bedroom door to go downstairs and watch TV.
Yeah, well, he was probably avoiding his own admittance to the thing that he would do,
Oh yeah, I think that he had avoided being around me in certain situations, because he on some level felt guilty for what he had done.
Yeah, was he affectionate and demonstrative and affectionate in other ways?
Not very. He did give better hugs than his dad and his brother. Who are like stiff as a board when you try to hug them, kind of thing. But no, he was not very demonstrative and affectionate.
Did he like women, or was he misogynistic?
He's very misogynistic. So I worked far more hours than my brothers put together at the bike shop growing up. I loved going to the bike shop and working. I loved making money. I remember the first time I got paid a quarter when I was 5 for polishing the bike shops and polishing the bikes and vacuuming. When I was really little, he assembled bikes for Kmart at night to make ends meet when his business was new. And I remember being so excited because he taught me how to screw the pedals on.
Yeah.
And so we definitely had, it's so hard when the abuser is somebody that
you have some good memories, good joy.
Right. And for so many years, I totally blocked out those good memories, and I wouldn't even acknowledge that there were good memories because I was so hurt and angry at what he had, at the abuse. Mm-hmm. And he did tell my mom when I was 7 or 8. So this was after it had stopped. He told her that he didn't want me to sit on his lap anymore because he was worried he'd get aroused.
Oh, yeah,
and my mom was
weird. That's straight. I mean, that's uncomfortable to have to
And
experience.
so
But you heard that then, or you knew that
no. She
later in
told
life?
me after, she's like, oh, well, yeah, I guess now that
She's
comment makes
like
a lot of
connecting the
sense.
dots. She's connecting the dots of the memories,
Yeah.
right?
And seeing kind of, and I mean, when my parents split up, I did, I wanted nothing to do with my dad or his family or any of it. I was like, nope. And he accused my mom of trying to drive a wedge between us. And I was like, no, I make up my own mind. I make my own decisions. The only person driving a wedge between us is you and the way you treat me.
So you said it stopped at 6 years old.
So it started when my first baby brother was born. Mommy's busy with the baby, so Dorey needs to take care of daddy. And it stopped when my second brother was born. And I think he realized that I was way too smart to keep his secret much longer. He told me that if I told anybody, he would kill my mom.
Yeah. Was it frequent or was it infrequent? Like, was there
honestly, I don't know. I have flashes of specific things that happened. I don't know how frequent it was.
Yeah.
And I don't, honestly, it doesn't matter. I mean, to be perfectly honest, like if it happened once, that was too much.
Yeah.
But I know it happened more than once. And I mean, when I was a kid, my friends were terrified of my dad. And a friend and one of my cousins told me after I came forward about it, they were like, yeah, your dad always really just gave me the creeps and I never ever wanted to be around him.
Right. Yeah. Well, I guess I guess we don't have, I don't want to, delve too deep into your, that part. I mean, yes, it happened and I don't want to, like, I don't want to keep you there either, emotionally in that space. So let's think about, so it happened and that was part of your story. And then you were talking about, you kind of brought us up to that one moment where he said, you don't have to eat that. You don't have to eat the whole plate. And then you confronted him. And of course that ruined a lot of relationships, not only with him, but which I think you were saying you wanted to work through it and he couldn't.
Right. Well, so when I was starting to go to, when my parents were first split up, he and I were in counseling together for a while, very briefly. And I told him I was thinking about becoming a psychologist or a psychiatrist. And he goes, oh, you don't want to do that. The people who go into psychology and psychiatry, those are the most fucked up people in the world. Excuse me. I'm sorry. I hope it's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. You've earned the right.
And so, we were in therapy together and, at one point, I was complaining about my dad telling me that I couldn't watch TV until I got my homework done. And I was a straight A student, had always been a straight A student, always got my homework done, never got in trouble at school. So it was totally just a power controlling thing. And because one night he was like, no, you need to turn the TV off if your homework's not done. And I was like, Dad, I have study hall tomorrow morning. I need something to work on during that study hall. I have more time during the study hall than I need to get the assignment done. I don't care. Get your homework done. And so I remember telling the psychiatrist about this and the psychologist and he goes, well, what's your GPA? And I said 4.0. And he's like, Rick, don't ever tell your daughter when to do her homework again. But then, like everything, once we left therapy, that's a joke. Hey, Dorey, is your homework done yet? And we only went a few times. And at the time, I thought we quit because he was cheap and didn't want to pay for it. Looking back, after I uncovered, the molestation, I realized that he was scared that stuff might surface.
Yeah.
Is really the reason.
And that was in high school when you were in therapy with him?
That was in middle school when we were in counseling.
Oh, wow. That's young.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, cause he moved out moved out when I was in 7th grade.
Okay.
So it was probably 8th grade that we were in counseling together. And I mean, it was.
That's like the mid 90s for you, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. 90. Yeah. He moved out in 93. Yeah. 93, 94. 94. Cause I was 13. I turned 13. Yeah.
Yeah.
So 94, 95.
So we kind of understand your story, and it's 30 minutes in. Let's talk about in general, like, because you obviously have healing, you have help that you're helping others. I do want to mention from my side that I experienced bullying as well for my size. And it's funny because I don't really think about that very much. It's not something that is in my conscious awareness, only because I just am a thriver and I'm just going to choose joy, but this morning, because it was on my mind from your post, and that we were going to have this conversation today, and I was remembering, and I've remembered this before, but I'm just thinking like, oh, well, I've been the result of a bullying too, like, so the three things that stand out for me about bullying in my past is when I was young, like 3 or 4, 5, 6 years old, my cousins and my sisters, I had 3 older sisters and, 3 or so cousins, they used to bounce like this, like the earth was shaking when I would walk, to basically imply that Lydia was coming and I was so big that I was shaking the earth. Okay. And I was like a 6X. Remember that size? It was like the extra large of a 6. So I wasn't like huge. I was just thicker, as I had a thicker skeletal system or whatever, and with a little extra meat on it. And then the other thing I got bullied for by my sisters was I had eczema as a kid. And so I had like what they called alligator scales. And so they used to go, ew, alligator scales. And they're on like the back of my legs. And, I was like 4, 5, 6. And my, which, now we know is like an autoimmune issue. And so my mom was like, y'all better stop, saying alligator scales to your sister. And so they got smart and they started going, ooh, da 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 da. And so that's all they could do. And I knew what the bullying was. I knew it was still alligator scales. And then the final thing, there was like one other thing I thought about that I was bullied about. Oh, just like in elementary school, I'm going to name this guy because I'm Facebook friends with them. I'm sure I'll never see this podcast. But, you remember your abusers, you remember their names. And, I'll never forget, like Artie Aducci, was making fun of me being bigger in school. And, it's like, it's an indelible impression on you. And I want to just say, before you get talking about how you help people, is this morning when I was waking up, I was thinking to myself, that is so funny that all my, siblings and my cousins, did this to me, but they don't realize they gave me a superpower. Like, I have a true superpower. Like, I am so much more mentally strong about who I am and my self-confidence and my choices and my body, a much better body image, a confidence than any of them do. They're all getting plastic surgery and stuff to adapt to their needs for their bodies to be good, or they're just not comfortable in their own bodies and have their own insecurities. And I was thinking, wow, the difference is I had to grow up at 4 years old with bullying. And so I turned the bad into good for myself. And so it's all in a matter of a mind shift. It's about how you choose to handle. Do you want to be a victim and live in the victimization? You have a choice. You can stay there. You can live in the victim mentality. Or you can decide, I'm not going to let this tear me down. I'm not going to let it stop me from living. I'm still going to have joy. I'm still going to have happiness. And I get to choose to be confident or not. That's my own free will choice, right? So that's how I chose to handle it. And so for people who need the support and the resource, like you are a self-love specialist, you're out there to help people, right? So let's talk about how you're helping people today.
Absolutely. And one thing I wanted to mention on that is I have better body image than a lot of people a third my size. And I'll use my mom as an example, who's about half my size. You know, she's overweight, but not huge. And, you know, I mean, she is constantly down on her weight, and she won't wear, you know, short sleeves or like tank tops because she doesn't like her arms and things like that. And I'm like, you know what? My body is what it is. And if people don't want to see a little bit of belly hanging out, if they don't want to see my, you know, the flab on my arms, they can look the other direction, because I'm going to wear what's comfortable. I wear 2-piece bathing suits because that's what's more comfortable for me. I don't care if, you know, if people don't like seeing my legs, that, you know, the fat on my legs. I mean, I have somebody very dear to me who is probably a third my size and will not wear shorts or a bathing suit because she doesn't want anybody to see her legs, even though her doctor has told her that the only exercise that's safe for her body to do is swimming because of an issue. And so, you know, it really, it's all about what's in your head. And I am of the belief I am not willing to change who I am or what I do because somebody else doesn't like it. You know, there's, no matter what you do, there's going to be somebody out there who judges you for it or disagrees with it or doesn't want to see it or whatever. And so I am confident enough in who I am. And, you know, I don't ever do anything. I'm not somebody who does something to intentionally hurt somebody else. But at the same time, like, I'm not going to cover my body because somebody might not want to see it. You know, I just not willing to do that.
Well, you're choosing freedom. You're choosing freedom over sacrifice.
Yeah. And I basically live in camisoles all summer long when it's hot, and camisoles and shorts, and, you know, and so, but yes, so back to how I help people. And honestly, literally the day that I had that regression therapy with my cousins and came to the realization that I had been molested as a child, I said, okay, show me how to help people. Guide me to the place where I can help other people, other women who have gone through this or are going through this. Because if I had to go through something this painful and awful, I want to turn it into power and turn it into a way to help other people.
Yeah.
And so I, you know, have been working on myself and working on healing myself. And I did actually come to forgive my dad. I no longer carry that anger in my body. I no longer live there. It surfaces from time to time.
Let's talk about that. When you forgive someone else, what are you doing?
I am setting myself free of the anger and resentment that I was holding on to. And, you know, I look at my dad, and this isn't to make an excuse, because what he did was not okay. But his birth mother died when he was 15 months old. He was then raised by a stepmother who couldn't love him the way he needed to be loved. And so I actually wrote a poem when I forgave him in March of 2021. And it's pretty powerful. I wrote it to some people, and it's I'm actually going to be posting it on my Substack probably this weekend. Anyway, and I talk about how, like, his heart was so broken, he didn't understand the language that he needed in order to learn how to do better. And so I knew that I needed to send him love and compassion, but like knowing it in your head and actually feeling it is different. And I was taking a course from Joanna Hunter called Shadow Web, and I'm typing notes, and all of a sudden something just clicked, and it was like the anger just dissolved.
That's beautiful.
And it was really an incredible moment. And then I actually on New Year's Eve of that year, I put the poem into a card and mailed it to my dad. And I said, "Dear Dad, I'm not sending this with any expectations. I just want you to know I love you. I have forgiven you, and I pray you find peace."
Oh, that's beautiful.
And
was he able to respond to that at all?
No, he hasn't responded. I didn't expect him to.
Yeah, and I want to make the point, you do forgiveness for you,
absolutely,
not for the other person.
Yeah. And it's not
not
saying
about
what he
giving
did
it
was
to them.
okay. It's not about saying that, what he did was okay. That's not what it is. It's about saying, I'm no longer willing to be held captive by the anger and resentment towards him over what he did. I'm setting myself free, and putting that card in that poem and card in the mail to him was about sending love into the world, because I believe that the only thing that can heal is love.
Yeah.
And I believe, like, I very much am passionate about healing myself, others, and our entire planet. And the only way to do that is through sending love.
Yeah.
And so sending love to myself, sending love to people who've hurt me. And it's not easy. And there are times, that anger comes back, and the grief and the sadness and all of those emotions do surface. But at the core, like, the way to heal and grow beyond it is to send it love, and to love myself better. And the only way to deepen into self-love is to work on forgiving and not holding that resentment and anger towards other people.
Absolutely. It's such an inside job. Forgiveness is such an inside job. And I always remember this poem, or I don't know if it's a poem or a saying, but it says something to the effects of, anger destroys the vessel in which it is stored, rather the vessel on which it is poured. And so it's like the vessel that actually has the anger is the one that's getting destroyed. It's not like, oh, lashing out to other people is going to actually make you feel better. You store the anger. So when you release it, when you provide forgiveness to your perpetrators, you're releasing that in you so that you are free, and that you can turn around and fill it up yourself with love for yourself, the self-love specialist, the self-love conversation, so that you can live a life more full of joy, happiness, and freedom. Right?
Absolutely. And while that forgiveness of him did not change my relationship with him, it has impacted my relationship with other people within the family. And out of respect for their privacy, I won't say who, but there are 6 people in my family that I am in better touch with and on speaking terms with, again, after not being on speaking terms. 2 of them from my choice, and the others from their choice. But so it has the healing work that I'm doing on myself and forgiving my father has rippled out and helped heal other relationships in my family. And actually, a friend of mine, when I was talking about the fact that I was going to go and have a conversation with this person that I had cut out of my life due to their toxic behavior, and have a conversation about resuming contact, she said, well, I'd love to do a healing meditation for you. And after the meditation, she said, this beautiful woman came forward and called herself Granny and told me that the work that you are doing is not only healing yourself, it's healing the people in your family who are there and the people in your family who have already passed. Yeah. And it just gave me chills when she told me that. So and so I really want to help other people have this healing experience, because I know that so many people have that negative self-talk. I call it the inner bully or the inner mean girl. And, we learn that inner self-talk, that negative self-talk from, whether, like, mine learned a lot of her best stuff from my dad. She learned some of her stuff from my aunts. She learned some of her stuff from bullies at school, or, the media. And, and I think now in the days of social media, there's even more of that noise out there, and so much bullying going on online as well. And we internalize that, and we start telling ourselves those mean, horrible things that other people have said to us. And actually, an example that I use, an analogy for that I use in my poem, is that he planted seeds of unworthiness in the garden of my mind. And I lacked the awareness to distinguish between the flowers and the weeds. And so I just kept watering the garden. And so those weeds were overgrown, and that negative self-talk, oh my gosh, it wreaked havoc on my life.
You needed some weed killer.
I did. And I didn't know. And I mean, I sabotaged every area of my life, from relationships to career to, everything. And because I believed his lies that I wasn't good enough and I didn't deserve to be happy and have good things in my life because I'm fat.
Yeah.
Which is bullshit.
Right. And now you get to choose and make up for it, right?
Exactly.
And all of that you sabotaged.
And over the last, 2 decades of working on healing myself and learning and growing, I've developed tools and strategies to awaken my inner cheerleader and strengthen my relationship with her so that her voice can drown out the voice of that bully in my head. I mean, we've got the bully tied up and, duct tape over her mouth, and she's in the trunk now because I've got her out of the driver's seat, right? Like, but for so long, she was driving. She was making decisions. And I'm not letting her make decisions.
At some point, you're going to kick her out of the car. She's causing you use up more gas carrying her in the trunk.
I've tried, but she just keeps finding me. I don't know.
She keeps hitchhiking.
But I've named her.
With different disguises, right? She's got a different disguise on, and she gets back in for the hitchhike. You got to stop picking up those hitchhikers. Okay. Yeah, finish your thought, and then let's tell everybody how they can find you online and what's coming up. Okay.
Absolutely. So actually that's where I was going. So starting on Monday, the 22nd of May of 2023, I am doing a 4-day free event on Facebook in the Facebook group, How to Get the Bully in Your Head Out of the Driver's Seat. You can find me at Dorey Kern on Facebook. You can send me a friend request. You can ask to join the Facebook group. Excuse me. Either way.
And it's DoreyKern for anyone who's listening on Audible and not watching the video.
Thank you. Yes. And I'm the only Dorey Kern on Facebook. So
nice.
Yeah, I know. So many people, it's like, oh, which one is it? But
I think I'm the only Lydia Butterflydia.
I think so too. we're one of a kind. So
yes, we have to be, right? Okay, so when is that? Okay, this is May 14th, 2023. When is that happening? When is that event happening?
It starts on Monday, May 22nd. It's May 22nd through the 25th.
Okay.
And it'll be in the Facebook group. And
is it like live, or are you?
I'll be doing a Facebook Live each of those days. And I'll be sending out a workbook, and we'll have discussion in the Facebook group and things like that. So,
yeah, I saw you had didn't you have quite a few people in your Facebook group already?
So that group, I think I'm up to about 40, 45 people. I have another Facebook group also, if you're interested, called Moon Magic Oracle Healing Society. That's kind of the Facebook group where I share stuff about astrology and stuff about healing and just different uplifting posts and things like that. And then I guess I'll share one other thing. I'm getting ready to start a mastermind, a book study mastermind, which is we're going to be reading. The first book we'll read is My $1 Million Experiment by Joanna Hunter. I started reading it the other day, and I was like, oh my gosh, I knew it would be good because I love her. But I was like, I need to talk about this with people. So if that's something that you're interested in.
What is that about? I'm curious.
So
what's the $1 million experiment?
So a couple of years ago, she did a $1 million experiment, and she wrote the book, and then she had a Facebook group and basically went through, teaching the principles of metaphysics and things, and basically healing your worthiness to allow more money into your life and more of whatever, not just money. And 15 millionaires came out of that experience, along with hundreds of other people making huge breakthroughs in their finances. And so that's something that I'm working on. And I'm a former elementary school teacher. And so something that I love doing, and one of my zones of genius is, reading facilitating really deep, juicy conversations about books. So the mastermind will be, we'll have live Zoom calls twice a month. And we're not going to just like fly through the book. We're going to read the book, dig deep, spend time on each thing. We're going to put into practice the things that she explains in the book, and really work on healing our self-worth and increasing our abundance.
Awesome. I love that. I love abundance. And there's, by the way, everybody, there's enough for everyone. So start getting your buckets ready.
Absolutely.
To manifest your abundance. Awesome.
Yes.
Great. Well, tell us your website for them to go to if they want to learn more about you. I know you're updating it, but like if people want to find you and just know where you're at, where do they find you?
moonmagicOracle.com.
Yes. Awesome.
And then you can also send me an email at moonmagicOracle333@gmail.com.
Okay, cool. What does the 333 mean? Is it like an angel? Is it an angel?
Angel numbers of repeating numbers, and I love the number 3, and so that was Moon Magic Oracle was already taken, so I had to put a number. So
somebody had that. I was going to ask you. My goodness, somebody had Moon. Wow, that's interesting. But at least you got the .com.
Yes.
So, this has been fun and exciting. And I know that your sharing and your journey is going to help hundreds of people, thousands of people, hopefully millions of people that need it. So we're going to put it out there on the airwaves. And do you have any final words or thoughts or anything that you want to share before we say goodbye to the audience today?
So I think I just want to say, you know what? You are worthy of love and you are surrounded by love. And sometimes we don't see that love, but you are deeply loved. And if you need help in awakening your self-love and deepening your self-love, I would love to have a conversation and help you, because that's my mission. That's what I came here for. And so I just remember that you are love, you are loved, and you are lovable.
That's beautiful. Do you do like discovery calls or anything like that? Because I used to do some healing energy work, and I really needed to talk to the person to determine whether or not I could help them before. So it's a discovery on both sides. They need to figure out if I am right for them, and I need to discover if I could help them. And then if I didn't feel like I didn't want to just take their money, and not be able to help them. So what do you offer for people to determine whether or not you're the right fit for them?
Absolutely. I do free 30-minute transformational healing calls where we can get to know each other, and I can, walk you through some of the things that I can do to help you, and actually do some of those things on the call. So it's not a sales call. It's more of a get to know you and provide some
real value,
provide value for you, so that you can have like a taste of who I am and how I work, so that you can see whether that feels like a good fit. Exactly like you said.
I will say 30 minutes is generous. If you're giving 30 minutes of your time just to determine if somebody wants to work and pay for you, that's really generous. So thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I depending on what it is that you're needing and what it is that Spirit's guiding me to, we'll do some Reiki. I can pull oracle cards, walk you through meditations, just depending on what it is that you're going through and needing at the time. So
yeah, using Spirit to help you help them, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
Awesome. Well, it's so great to get to know you better, Dorey. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time for being on the show today.
Thank you. I really appreciate you having me. It's been really great to connect and get to share a little bit about our healing journeys.
Yes, thank you. And we'll see you soon. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
We've reached the end of this episode. If you'd like to continue with this motivational journey,
Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you won't miss out each time we load a new episode. If you have an inspirational story to share or want to let us know about a potential guest, we'd love to hear about it. Contact us at avantiwellness.com. See you next time, and remember, change is good.